What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Tricky Jim at Full Grip Games. Got a super sweet tabletop gameplay for you all here today. This is the finals between myself and Chris Fulop of the Base Neo tournament that we held here at Full Grip Games. This is an exciting matchup. It's a Kingdra mirror. Kingdra is one of the best archetypes to come out of the Base Neo format, and this was a really exciting event we held. On the line here are 4 packs of Japanese Neo Genesis, and second place gets 2 packs. So this was a really contentious match, a lot of fun between Chris and I. It's definitely a long one. Kingdra is a tanky deck that heals itself a lot and only does 30 damage. Kingdra has 90 hit points, so it is definitely a grinder here, but sit tight because it is an exciting matchup for sure, and we could see a lot of fun, a lot of cool interactions of the Base Neo kind of era all come to light here in this tabletop game. So we see myself on the left starting off with 2 horsies there. Definitely a solid start for myself, and we get the Professor Elms turn 1. So we're definitely happy about that. Chris starts with a Cleffa. Now we have here, both Kingdra decks. Kingdra is a stage 2. We don't play any Pokemon breeder. There's no equivalent to rare candy or anything like that. So there aren't any ways really to to take this match early. It's going to be both decks trying to set up. But I see Chris, he's got Cleffa. He doesn't really have any sort of horsies down, and I have a couple of horsies, so I'm thinking that maybe if I could evolve up into Kingdras quickly, I can start to take some prizes early. Baby Pokemon are a huge liability in this matchup, we'll come to find out, because the snipe damage actually adds up on them relatively quickly on the bench, and it's a way for your opponent to take kind of bonus prizes there. We see myself with an item finder and a bunch of resources in my hand. I'm already feeling good about the fact that Chris had to oak away a bunch of stuff, including an item finder there, which is really good for me because this matchup is going to come down to item finders and Pokemon centers. Unfortunately, in order to stay on the draw here, I too have to play an item finder, which is something that I'm not really excited about. Definitely want to get as much mileage as we can out of Pokemon Center and item finder. Those are the 2 kind of bottleneck resources in this matchup. Kingdra's genetic memory copies any attack from its previous Pokemon evolution, right? So usually what's going to happen is Kingdra's going to use genetic memory for 1 energy, and it's going to copy Seadra's Mud Splash. Mud Splash does 30 damage. You flip a coin. If heads, you snipe 10 damage onto the bench. I get a really clutch draw there off of my Elm, the Cleffa, and the color and the Recycle energy, which allows me to go off with my own Eek. We see Chris there responding with an Eek as well. Just shuffle draw 7 here. We're each going to be refilling our hands and looking for more resources. Go for an Energy Stadium flip there. I get it to get an extra water back into my hand. 2 more horsies down, and I'm feeling pretty good about my board state as compared to Chris's. But I'm eyeing up my hand, and I could do a couple of things here. I could go in quick, knock out Chris's Cleffa if I can find myself a Kingdra and potentially just take this game by storm if I do knock out Chris's draw and bring that Kingdra into the active. That might be what I'm considering going for here. It would be a definitely devastating blow to Chris if I can come in that quick before he's able to set up at all. But if I miss, then that is hard for me as well because Chris gets the free Eek there with my non-baby Pokemon in the active position. I have a Lass in hand, so I'm considering going for the power play. I go for it. I go in with the power play Lass here. I see Chris's hand. Now, Chris's hand is much stronger than mine, so that's got me a little bit nervous. He's got 2 Horsey, a Kingdra, a Water Energy, and a Pichu there. I have no hand, so I'm considering going for Eek here, and I'm considering going in with my own Kingdra, knocking out Chris's draw. So I sit here and I consider my options. I fail my Energy Stadium. I have a 0 card hand. I could very easily knock out this Cleffa and take the rug out from underneath Chris, but that is a high risk, high reward play. I'm not really interested in kind of playing the slow game here, so I decide to go in with my Kingdra. This would be a huge knockout for me if I hit it, leaving Chris with just 1 Pokemon in play, and I miss. So this is like a horrible situation for me. Chris really has a pretty good hand. It was definitely high risk off of that last. I knew what Chris's hand was, and I knew his hand was stronger than mine. I could have potentially just gone for the refill there, but it's all good. I decided to stay the course, and Chris gets himself a new hand. Now I'm in this boat, and this is just where I'm chilling. I decide to definitely, I think I'm going to decide to go in with the King Drive, fail the Energy Stadium again. We got a lot of Energy Stadium tails here. We go for the Double Gust, actually, so that's interesting, and that's a really clutch top deck for me because I do not want that King Drive in the active position. So here's Never Punished Mahone. Decides to go in with his King Drive too early. He's like, whoop, never mind. No, we're going to Double Gust and get my Cleffa out here so that I could refill this hand. Now Chris has the opportunity to aggress, or he can retreat. King Drive's got a retreat cost of 2, so if he wants to retreat and continue setting up his board, he can. He goes for the Elm, so he's going to see a fresh hand of 7 before he makes his decision here, and we'll see what he ends up going for. Preferably, he'd like to see a couple more copies of Seadra to evolve up, establish a board position, goes for the attack, hits it, so my Cleffa is going down. Then he wants to see what he wants to snipe to. He's going to pick a Horsey, and he gets the snipe as well. So that's a big knockout for Chris. Recycle Energy comes back to my hand, since Recycle Energy goes back to the user's hand when it gets discarded from play. That's really clutch and really good for Kingdra, because not only does it come back to the hand when being removed with energy removal, but also with Pokemon Center, which is like a max potion for all of your Pokemon. I evolve into Seadra, and I'm still feeling confident. Honestly, the baby Pokemon are a big liability, so I don't really need them in play anyways, and I have enough cards in play at this point that I have a sustainable board position, so long as I can continue to draw into things like Pokemon Center and so on and so forth, I'll be okay. Now, I decide to kind of load up my Kingdra here, and then I'm eyeing up my item finder. Do I want to use it yet? No. We need to save our item finders for Pokemon Centers. I know this at this point. I do 30 damage to Chris's Kingdra. I don't get the snipe, but that's okay. Chris clutch draws the focus band, which is really good. He really needs to see that focus band. Letting your Kingdra just get knocked out without the 50% flip is really, really bad in this matchup. So really clutch for him to see that. Definitely wants that focus band. And focus band is a bottleneck resource as well, since we only have 4 of them. And, you may end up attacking with more than 4 Seadras and Kingdras. So definitely a clutch resource. And we don't want to have to item finder for them at all. We want to item finder all 4 Pokemon Centers. That is for sure. This matchup is really going to boil down to who can survive a focus band flip and then Pokemon Center after it. So definitely focus band flips are going to play a major hand in how this match turns out. I fail my Energy Stadium again, and I'm eyeing up that item finder. A lot of games in this format will come down to, were you able to use your item finder effectively? So I'm trying to decide what the best way to use my item finder is. I think I decide to hold it for another turn though. I don't want Chris to ever, get that twister going, so I'm considering just bopping him with another energy removal as well to kind of slow that Kingdra on the bench down. I start loading up my own Kingdra on the bench. If I can fire off twisters, that's a 2-hit KO as opposed to a 3-hit KO. So I'm definitely hoping to eventually attack with Twister, but I decided that the active is probably never going to get there. Chris has a clutch play here, able to retreat his active Kingdra. He doesn't even want to let me attack it, doesn't want to test that focus band strength, and then I get last here, which is really strong for Chris because I'm now going to have a 0 card hand, no Cleffas in play. We're just going right off the top deck here with a damaged Kingdra in the active. So Chris definitely going in with the power play here with that last and a fresh Kingdra. I'm thinking that maybe I can add up Snipe onto Chris's benched Kingdra to maybe knock that out, but I know that he has last, so I know he does not have a Pokemon Center in his hand, so we really hope that these flips kind of work out well for me. I can potentially retreat my active Kingdra if I get some energy back with Energy Stadium. Definitely going to help my case there, so definitely appreciate that. But my Horsey on the bench is kind of in critical condition as well. He's got 2 damage counters on it, which is not what I want, and really just the Kingdra and and the Horsey are a few turns away from getting knocked out by Snipe. So we get them both on the bench, and we're going to go in with our own fresh Kingdra here. And we're both just in top deck city. I'm on the play now. I'm kind of in the driver's seat now that I'm the one with the fresh Kingdra active. We're both top decking, but Chris just gets the Professor Oak here. That is so incredible off of a computer search. So he's going to be the first one to top deck out of that last, which is really big for him here. And then I'm just stuck top decking and hoping and praying that I can find myself some healing cards before my entire board position just gets demolished here. That is what we're thinking. We're like, wow, we're only a couple turns away from this all going completely south. I go for my energy stadium and fail it. I really started to see the damage add up here, and I'm like, where do I even put my energy? Putting energy anywhere kind of feels bad at this point since everybody's damaged. But I put the recycle energy on my bench Kingdra, thinking maybe if I can get a Twister going, we could take a clutch, I don't know, one-hit KO on a Horsey eventually or something like that. I hit the Snipe and decide to go for the Cleffa again. And you guys can see that damage adding up on the Cleffa is really good. But if Chris can hit a Pokemon Center here, that would just be amazing. I mean, he will take the first big board clear of damage. He kind of wants to see it. He needs to see the Pokemon Center here, but I assume since he just played that Professor Oak, he's definitely gripping the Pokemon Center. He goes for the Energy Stadium and fails it. I see a Recycle Energy in his hand. Does he have the Pokemon Center to clear his board of damage? He's starting to be in that critical position. He goes for a retreat, and he's going to promote the other damaged Kingdra here. That would be, I guess, yeah, he's going for the item finder. What does he have in the discard pile? He has to go for the computer search. He's going to get rid of all these recycle energies. So really heads up play by Chris there, allowing himself to get more cards in hand to go for the item finder computer search play to get that Pokemon Center from his deck into his hand. All he has left is one recycle energy. He's discarded 3 from play. Recycle energy is a valuable resource, but he knows that that energy stadium is going to be out all game. So he doesn't really mind getting rid of all of his recycle energies because he knows he's pretty much going to have unlimited water energy at his disposal. Now, I respond with my own Pokemon Center, which is huge for me. I haven't played any draw cards, but I was able to top deck the Pokemon Center, so we're on the play as well. And we are right back there applying the first damage in this Kingdra trade. And we can see how long this match is going to take. This is going to be an exhausting match between Chris and I, kind of just trying our resources, going in with Pokemon Center, slugging away with Kingdra. It's really hard to build up that Twister. I think we don't actually end up firing off one Twister in this entire game because of all the energy removals we play as well. So you can see us just going back and forth, Energy Stadium, Mud Splash, Energy Stadium, Mud Splash. And that's kind of the tempo of this game because we have to be really careful about our resources as well. Neither of us can afford to deck out, so we have to make sure that we're not playing too many draw cards. Have to make sure that we're item finding for the right things. I get a water energy back off of the Energy Stadium, which is good. I'm starting to feel like maybe I can go in with a Twister here eventually, maybe. I think that I potentially I committed that water energy to the bench Kingdra too quick, and I'm starting to feel bad about that. I'm really wishing that I had saved that for the active Kingdra there so that I could retreat it, and I'm really kind of beating myself over that decision there. I think that that could have been a game-winning play for myself if I had retreated into the fresh Kingdra instead of leaving my damaged Kingdra out there, but we're just going to have to hope that the focus band kind of stays in play there. I flip tails, and Chris flips tails, so that's fine with me. I'm like, well, at least my greedy play did pay off with a knockout. He flips tails on his focus band, but now Chris is going to get a chance to knock out one of my Kingdras, and I'm feeling bad about this because I didn't have to let him take this knockout. If I had just waited another second on that energy attachment, I could have retreated my Kingdra. I flip a tails on it on my focus band as well. So really fast play here from Chris and I with 2 really big knockouts. I'm really beating myself up mentally for letting that Kingdra go down. I should have retreated it 10 times out of 10. We saw Chris do that earlier, but I am new to this matchup, and Chris is a really good good technical player. He did not hesitate on retreating his Kingdra earlier at all. He knew that was the correct play. I'm kind of now only seeing it in hindsight. And now during my turn, I'm like, I didn't need to lose that Kingdra, didn't need to go down. We could have saved it and made our Pokemon centers go a lot further. I know that I have more resources at my disposal than Chris. If I had just played that line correctly, we would be ahead a whole Kingdra, which is huge for me. So I'm really on the back foot here, trying to decide what the best course of action is going to be. I need to figure out how to get another Kingdra into play, but I have an item finder and I need to save that. I need to save every item finder I have for Pokemon Center. I know that I can't really afford to item finder for anything that's not a Pokemon. That's not a Pokemon Center. So I just decided to, I don't know what I'm thinking here, attaching to that Horsey. I really should not have done that because maybe I want to Eek or something like that. But my attached to the Horsey, I'm thinking that maybe I want to just, I don't know, draw better cards off this Elm. I'm scared of not drawing good cards, so I'm trying to thin my hand here. I didn't want to have all my energy on just the one Kingdra quite yet. And I know that since I'm going in with a Mud Splash this turn, that 50 damage really wouldn't make too much of a difference. So I decided not to put 3 energy on my one Kingdra because 30 and then 50 is still a 3-hit knockout. So I might as well just go in with 30, 30, 30 and potentially add up Snipe onto Chris's Cleffa. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. So we committed the Recycle Energy. We're wishing that we had it so that I could potentially Eek. But like I said, having Cleffa down is just such a liability in this matchup. So I'd prefer not to have it down if I don't need to. And we see myself kind of eyeing up that Cleffa like, what was I thinking? Why didn't I save that Recycle Energy in case I wanted to Eek here? But it's all good. You know, if I could just top deck out of it. But I keep putting myself in situations where I'm going to need to top deck. So it's a tough call. Do you go in with Cleffa and then, you know, kind of risk giving up a prize for nothing? Or do you just go back in with Kingdra here? I'm going back and forth here, trying to figure out what the best play is. Do I go in with Cleffa? Do I go in with Kingdra? I am all sorts of tilted right now. After much debate, I decided I just need to go in with Kingdra, Mud Splash, stay the course, keep attacking, keep applying pressure to Chris's board. Chris has the Gust up on my Horsey, so that's really good for him. And, you know, we kind of miss a play there, unfortunately, with the Cleffa, but I decided to bench the Cleffa anyway. Just, you know, kind of an odd line of play for me there. I think I'm kind of like, you know, just grinding things out and just maybe overthinking some things. But we're trying to figure out how are we going to take 5 more prizes. I think 4 more prizes is 4 or 5 more prizes. How am I going to take like 5 more prizes? Really a tough call there. It is 5 more prizes that I have to take. And resources are starting to run low. I know we got a couple more Pokemon centers, but with Chris taking this knockout on the Horsey, he really establishes himself as being in the lead for sure, because he's got, you know, 3 potential Kingdras in play with the 1 Kingdra and then 2 Horsies, and I've just got one Kingdra left. So I need to find my nightly garbage run in order to pull this back together, in order to have a shot here. I need to find that nightly garbage run. And nightly garbage run is really just the same card as Super Rod for anybody who is curious. It shuffles 3 energy or Pokemon or a combination of the 2 back into the deck. So I'm really trying to get my Kingdras back into the deck, but I need to find that nightly garbage run, and I need to find it really probably without using computer search and without using item finder. So I just need to find it naturally. I go for the Recycle Energy there on my Cleffa. Funny enough, in this format, you actually can counter a stadium with a stadium of the same name. So that is a rule that has changed since the Wizards of the Coast format. So that's a legal play there, countering Energy Stadium with Energy Stadium. Get to play my own Energy Stadium, just thin it out of my deck because I don't want to draw into it off of this Eek. Now, it's going to be a big play from Chris if he's able to take a prize here on this Cleffa. We see Chris is only at like 3 prizes remaining. He's taken many more prizes than I have, but I'm feeling okay because I still am kind of more or less ahead as far as my Pokemon centers go, but I'm behind as far as Pokemon go. And we can see how I got myself into this situation. You know, I would love to replay this matchup. I think I would have played it much better a second time. Forgetting to retreat my my Kingdra that was critically damaged there was a huge mistake on my part. Just, it's the difference between having one Kingdra and two Kingdras here, which is just going to end up being my downfall. Now, I'm feeling good about my hand, but I'm not going to be able to, kind of get the most out of my Pokemon Centers at this point, since what you want to do with Pokemon Centers is really maximize their usage like Chris did with his first Pokemon Center. I finally take a prize off that Cleffa, so that's great. We sniped that. But Chris really used his first Pokemon Center there really, really well by retreating his active Kingdra and going in with a second Kingdra so that he could heal off two critically damaged Kingdras. Because of my current board state, I'm not really setting myself up to be able to do that. I'm kind of just on the back foot. I can only heal like 60 damage safely with Kingdra, or I can let it take a hit on the focus band and have a 50% chance of maybe having that buff out. And we can see why Chris and I decided to just do a best of one series for the final here. Chris decided, he offered me a prize split before we even started. Like, I don't really want to play this Kingdra Mirror, and now I see why. The Kingdra Mirror is absolutely exhausting. Just between all the healing cards, all the recovery as far as energy goes, neither of us are really going to run out of gas, and we have to really try each other's patience and resources in order to make it happen. I go for another Mud Splash. Chris goes for the Focus Band and saves himself. That is a huge flip on Chris's part. If that Kingdra goes down, I'm starting to feel really good about the game, but his Kingdra stays in play. And now if he can heal it with Pokemon Center, that's going to be absolutely tragic for me. It's just, really, really horrible if he can heal that Kingdra. And I think what Chris ends up saying is he had the Pokemon Center before he let that Kingdra get hit with the Focus Band. So he was risking it all on that Focus Band, and it ends up buffing out for him. He didn't heal at 60 damage. He decided to let the Focus Band take a hit and see if that could save him. So it did. He goes for the Pokemon Center now and reattaches that Recycle Energy, reattaches another Focus Band, clean Kingdra, and now Chris is really in the driver's seat of this game. I have another Pokemon Center in my hand, but this is horrible. I mean, I pretty much need to copy Chris here in order to get back ahead on things. I can't just let I'm thinking to myself, do I let this Kingdra take a hit on the Focus Band like Chris did? I obviously get one more turn ahead if I let this Focus Band take a hit, but I'm absolutely just wiped out if this Focus Band fails. So I'm pretty sure this might be my last Pokemon Center. I might have like one more after this. I'm counting my resources now, trying to figure out what I have left in deck. Things are really starting to get dicey here as far as resources go. I think I have my Pokemon Center. I do decide to go for it. I'm like, you know what, Chris, it's cool. You're lucky enough to save yourself on the Focus Band, but I'm going to try and just, plug away here, see if I can't maybe utilize the fresh start of a new Kingdra here to kind of take the game. I just don't have a lot of resources to get any other cards out if that Focus Band fails. So I save the Focus Band for later. It's fine. By using the Pokemon Center now, I will eventually get to lean on that Focus Band. It just might not be for a couple turns, and I'm really hoping that that turns up ahead eventually. Chris decides to go in with another attack quickly. He sees this game escalating. He kind of smells blood here. He knows that my resources are starting to get narrowed down. He's only got 2 prizes remaining, so it is just a super tight game. And I'm trying to, I'm really, really kind of, racking my brain, trying to figure out what we end up doing here. Hoping that my flips buff out my way for the rest of the game. Chris gets another water energy back and a computer search, so he's going to be able to go in and get whatever he needs out of the deck. He's comfortable just getting another Kingdra and then hoping that this Focus Band buffs out. I don't think he even needs to use a Pokemon Center here if he has one. He's just going to do this again, and this is the game-winning play from Chris, really. You've seen him do this twice now, where I have failed to do this every single time. I have not been able to successfully retreat a Kingdra onto the bench and then heal it, where Chris is constantly getting these 60 damage Kingdras and then retreating them out of harm's way. And that is really, really good for Chris. And we can see that that strategy is paying off for him here. And now that I see that kind of happening in hindsight, I'm like, yeah, that's how you play this matchup. And we can see Chris actually played during this era. So this is huge for him. And he has just a very concrete grasp of how to make these decks work. I flip for Energy Stadium, but realize, oh, I don't have any energies in my bench. I hit on the snipe. Does Chris hit with his band? Does he get there? No, the band hangs on. Oh my gosh, that's devastating for me. Absolutely devastating. That band hits again. So Chris has had 2 bands buff out for him. I gusted the Kingdra back out in order to try and take it out of play, but he's able to save it with his bands. He's had 2 bands hang on now, and he goes for the final Pokemon Center. That is just an insult to injury for me. Chris's board is absolutely stellar. If this Kingdra does not survive the focus band flip on my side, this game is just completely over. So it has been a close back and forth game, but we can see the focus bands have definitely just been coming in clutch for Chris. Every time I take a knockout on Kingdra, he's able to save it with focus band. My Kingdras have just been going down with the focus bands. And there goes another one. That's pretty much game there. I know there's nothing that I could do at this point. I have flipped too many tails on focus bands. I have a Pokemon Center in my hand, but that final Pokemon Center is not going to get me there. I have 4 more prizes left to take, and Chris is sitting comfortably with 1 prize remaining. He knows that he is in the driver's seat. He knows that he has played his resources, expertly and is able to come out on top here. And I'm sitting on an Oak and a Pokemon Center. I know that I can't really use my Pokemon Center right now. I have to attack with Kingdra, unfortunately, which is just the last thing you ever want to do. Or I have to attack with Seadra, which is the last thing you ever want to do. I don't want to have to go in with a 2 energy attack here, but this is really all I got. And I kind of see the writing on the wall. I see Chris's resources. I'm counting them up, but I know which way this matchup is going. Decide to play my own narrow gym. Hope that maybe Chris doesn't have an energy in hand. I know that he's discarded a lot of recycle energy, so maybe he doesn't have an energy. That's like my only hope at kind of coming ahead here, is hoping that he doesn't have the energy. But he's got Energy Stadium, and nope, misses the flip. He doesn't have energy in hand, but oh, pro play from Chris. He super energy removals the recycle energy off of his benched Kingdra and brings the recycle energy back to his hand in order to get usage off of it for the active. So clutch play there from Chris. We see Chris navigating this matchup perfectly. He is not hesitating at all. He knows exactly what he needs to do when he needs to do it. I've got my last Pokemon Center, and I need to use it on a Seadra. That is just a huge, disappointment for me. That is not what we want at all. And then I have to Oak with like a very thin deck. I know that I pretty much don't have the resources to buff this one out. I've done all my Pokemon Centers, but Chris, we saw, even though he had less item finders to use overall than me, was able to push each of his Pokemon Centers to the distance by retreating his Kingdras and then allowing more damage to stack up before he healed. And I was not able to replicate that strategy. This is my first time ever playing this matchup, so was not able to kind of figure it out there, unfortunately, on the play. And I realized it too little too late. I think that one turn there where I attached that water energy too quickly to my bench Kingdra, I realized it in the middle of the turn as I had done it. I had already attached my water, but I was too prideful. I wasn't going to ask Chris to allow me to take it back since we were in a tournament setting there. We were playing for some pretty cool prizes, so I wasn't going to ask to take that turn back. I was going to live with the bed that I had made for myself, was going to sleep in the bed that I had made there, and just dealt with the fact that I hadn't retreated that damaged Kingdra. But, we were hoping for the never punished mantra to kind of come through clutch for us here. Unfortunately, it was not. We see Chris does have a very thin amount of resources left, but I think he's still got his nightly garbage run as well. So I know that Chris isn't actually worried about decking out. I think he's fine, and should be okay. But this game might not even last that many turns. He's really, I think he's got 3 cards left to deck. My Kingdra has, only 3 more attacks left in it. He's only got 60 hit points and maybe the focus band. I bench my Horsey, but I don't think that I'm going to be able to evolve up another Kingdra quite fast enough. I go for the attack here. We knock out the Kingdra. That is great. Doesn't have a focus band on it. So we are actually narrowing things down here. I think I only have 3 prizes remaining to Chris's 1, but I don't have a final Pokemon Center. So we are, I was a little more careful with my resources than Chris was this game, but, I wasn't as careful with my Kingdras as Chris was this game. And Chris really buffed out. He buffed out on those focus band flips. He got like 3 heads, I think, to my 1. something like that. So those buffed out way better than mine did, and that was just the defining aspect of this game for sure, and allowed Chris to really go the distance there and get the most out of those Pokemon centers. I mean, the difference between healing a 60 damage Kingdra and healing an 80 damage Kingdra is just astronomical. I'm looking through Chris's resources. I think I'm looking for that Nightly Garbage Run to see if he's played it yet, and I think that I see here that he just still has some stuff left in his deck, so that is just devastating to me. I do have an item finder left. I actually didn't know that I still have an item finder left, so the game is not completely lost on me, but I'm pretty sure here that Chris, that Chris may end up having a healing card left. So I decide that the only way for me to win is to not Pokemon Center yet. I think I have to save the item finder and hope that the band saves me so that I can maximize my usage. I'm really thinking here like, okay, I need this to buff out. I'm low on resources. I absolutely need to heal an 80 damage Kingdra as opposed to a 60 damage Kingdra. I'm looking at the other attacks. I'm like, can I genetic memory and copy anything else that would be of use here? Not really. No matter what, this game is going to come down to a 50% coin flip. So I decide to just let that focus band ride now. And then, you know what? Next turn, I will item finder for the Pokemon Center if I have to. I have 3 prizes remaining. I know Chris's resources are limited, so I'm really trying to grind it out. What do I do here? Do I item finder for the Pokemon Center? I've got the Pokemon Center. I'm thinking about it. I know there's no question as to what I'm item findering for. So I know that I'm getting that Pokemon Center back, but I think I decided to just go for the attack, and I'm just going to Pokemon Center next turn. I just play the item finder just to play a card, just to get, to get some game action going on there. I'm like really thinking this turn out and just taking way too much time. I go for the attack. Chris now has a 50% chance of winning the game, and he sees it coming down to the wire here. He's only got 1 card left. He goes for the game-winning flip on the attack. No, I have to actually go for the game-winning flip, and I flip a tails. So that's it. That's the game. My focus bands were just not in there like Chris's focus bands were, and it really came down to the wire there. But my focus bands failed too many times, and Chris is really, really buffed out. So if you haven't gotten to check out the vlog, we vlogged this experience. I'm going to have that kind of at the end here, I don't know, along on the little pop-up videos there. So make sure to check out the Base Neo tournament vlog. That was a ton of fun. And if you're interested in learning any more about this format, I'll drop the link to Jason Klaczynski's blog in the description below as well. Thank you all so much for watching the video. Make sure to like the video, sub to the channel, ring that bell. Check out the Etsy store and Patreon stuff in the description below. Peace.